All right. So we are back. Coach Wink and Ellis Joshua back for, I guess we can call this the not so weekly crossbar or the occasional crossbar, whatever we want to call this. But we're back for another special edition of the podcast. Coach Wink, how you doing here this afternoon?
I'm doing great, Ellis. It's good to be with you. I'm happy to be back talking about lacrosse and hopefully helping all these young ladies and young men, get opportunities. I think through yourself in the Long Island Lacrosse Journal, I think the opportunities are definitely, more for the Long Island kids and some of the national kids that we get involved with. And I'm just hoping that we could continue to help both the kids and the families, guide the kids the best we can.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, going back to September, the start of the month, we started seeing just waves of commits of kids from all over the island in the 2026 class committing to some really great schools. And it's been great just seeing the high flowing of commits rolling in after seeing all these players take part in so many different events over the summer and just kind of seeing all that hard work pay off. And it's just been great to see. Like we've been covering these players for probably a handful of years now, and to see the 2026 class, a lot of them being committed, it's great. So again, congrats to the 2026 class. And that's kind of one of the things that we wanted to talk about here on this podcast, just about the recruiting process and just some of the things that I know you talk about that are really important that maybe some people they may not quite understand just how important some of these things are when it comes to what college coaches are looking for and things like that. So this is more of just, I guess, an educational podcast, so to speak, just on the recruiting process, and some of the things that coaches might be looking for that people might not necessarily be aware of.
Yeah, it's funny. We'll get into through our social media and all the things that we do. We'll talk about, what we feel the college in both the boys and girls side did best in the recruiting of Long Island lacrosse players. We'll talk about how Florida did a great job getting really good players off Long Island on the girls side. We'll talk about on the boys side on, what Carolina did and a couple of the other schools getting Long Island kids. But really what we want to talk about today is losing opportunity, not necessarily gaining opportunity. I think what is lost in the recruiting world is the same thing that's lost in the character of society. And that's just raising good, wholesome kids. You know, Forget lacrosse, basketball, whatever the sport is, or doesn't even have to be a sport. And I think what I learned even more this year is there were some really good lacrosse players from Long Island. I even know of a couple that were off the island where I heard horror stories of them not getting recruited because of character issues, not getting recruited because of the way their parents handled themselves, either, on the field or an email. I mean, I heard a story of a dad sending emails after prospect days that if I read you the email, you'd be like, what does this guy think he's helping his kid? First of all, I'm going to tell every one of you that's listening to this podcast, stay out of the process. Guide your child for it to be their process and let that young lady or young man have the relationships with the college coaches. The college coaches are not recruiting the parent. They're evaluating the parent. They're absolutely evaluating the parent. They're evaluating the family. They're evaluating your son and daughter, but they're not recruiting you. They're not looking to have a relationship with you. They're looking to have a relationship with your son or daughter. So that's the first thing you should realize. Okay. And stay out of it. Sending an email, that's a big no-no. And we're going to talk about a friend of mine who's starting a business. She's a wonderful, wonderful woman. Her name is Brooke Magnuson, and she's going to be doing some webinars to help. And this will work for boys or girls to help moms, dads, and kids deal with the recruiting process. She's been a consultant down in Georgia for girls lacrosse, and she's done an amazing job helping kids. And when I met her, I was like, you need to do webinars and give the whole world what you do because you're so good at it. You know what I mean? It's like It's like when you find a really good coach, like, you and I, our favorite thing is meeting these great coaches, the
Mm,
Carol Roses, you know what I'm talking about, the Ryan
yep.
Gicks, the Dave Ettingers, that's on the girl side, the Steve Fennell on the boy side, the
Yeah.
Dennis Bonds, like
Yeah.
that's what gets us going every day, besides the great athletes. Like these are men and women that have done such an amazing job mentoring their kids and guiding their kids. I was on a phone call today with the Darien women's coach. Her name is Lisa Lindley, and she's a very honest person. Okay. Some people say too honest. You know what? That's bullshit. There's nothing wrong with honesty. The problem is people don't want to hear honesty. They don't want to hear the truth. Okay. Or I should say that person's truth,
Hmm.
because we all have our own truth. They don't want to hear that. Okay. I talk about it all the time. People don't ask the questions because they don't want to hear the answer.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Yep. 100%.
You know what I'm saying? Like, no, ask the questions. Like the first thing you should do when you're going through the recruiting process is sit down with your lacrosse mentors, okay? Your high school coach, your club director, your recruiting coordinator, whatever that person is in your world, and have a conversation so that you can guide your child in the best way. And you should also know your child. What does your child want? The problem a lot of times with parents, and I see it a little bit more on the boys' side than the girls' side, but I see it on both sides. But the boys, it's more dominant. Is it's the parents driving the bus when it should be the kid driving the bus.
Hmm.
Like, listen to your kid. Listen to what he or she wants out of their college experience. Throw lacrosse out and listen to what they have to say. You know what I mean? Like the first question should be, you know, how far from home do you want to go? Right? Because
Yep.
like if the kid doesn't want to be more than a 4 hour drive,
Yeah, that matters. That's
yeah,
obviously something that's very important to them.
right. So you're going to go look at Stanford, the greatest school in the world, but the kid doesn't want to get on a plane and go 6 hours. Why are you wasting your money and time, even though your kid might be good enough to play at Stanford? Why are you doing that if that's not what's going to make your child happy?
Hmm.
So I think that's the but the real crux of what I wanted to talk about today was to allow your child to lead the process. Because the other thing is when you're talking about these kids playing a high level collegiate sport, and I don't care if it's a division one, two, or three, even the club game today is getting more and more competitive. That's a lot on a kid and the academic portion of and the social portion of college. Right? You went
Oh
through
yeah.
college. You did so much in your college experience, right?
Right. And that was just as a student. That wasn't as a student athlete. But being a student athlete in college, I mean, it's a completely different animal.
Yeah. So that's why it's so important for you to have a good handle on your child and understand that child. And in many of these families, they have different types of children. One kid might be type A, where well, they get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and they're ready for school before the bus 20 minutes before the bus is there. Another kid is like, putting his clothes on as the bus is pulling up in front of your driveway.
Hmm.
Every kid's different. Doesn't make one better than the other. It's just different.
Yep.
So I think that's the biggest factor is that. And parents need to start to stay out of the process because parents are ruining the process for their kids. I've seen it firsthand with kids that I've helped get recruited. And now I'm starting to hear it from college coaches about certain kids. So hopefully the parent who is that person who doesn't know how to keep their mouth shut listens to this and learns how to keep their mouth shut. It's funny, like you see dads and moms sometimes sitting by themselves at games. We see that all
Hmm.
the time, right?
Hmm.
I was that guy, and I didn't do that because I couldn't keep my mouth shut. I did that because I didn't want to hear everybody in the stands coaching the game. I wanted to watch the game and enjoy my child playing and not listen to some mom or dad say who should be playing. Because
Hmm.
I'll never forget this as long as I live. I don't know if I ever told you a story. The first game I ever went to see my son play in college, first game, I'm sitting in the stands trying to be a good freshman parent, and I'm listening to these parents, these moms and these dads talk about who should be on the field playing. So I looked at one of the moms and I said, "Wow, do you come here and watch every practice?" And she's like, "No, I don't. I've never seen a practice." I go, "I thought maybe you lived in Philly or something because you know exactly who should be playing in the game. So you
Yeah.
must be watching all the practices
Yeah.
in order to know that,
Yeah.
right?"
Yeah. You would think
I mean,
you
because
gotta
the coach goes to every practice, the coach who's deciding who to play, but the parent knows better than the coach who should be playing.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's the way it comes across.
It's like the guy who's sitting there talking about, why the Jets stink, right? Well, I mean, that's why talk radio still exists, right?
Yeah, everyone's got a take. Everyone has an opinion.
Right. How you playing that guy? I mean, were you at every practice? Were you in every film session? Maybe that left tackle who you thought was great at USC, doesn't know how to pick up the blitz. Well, we don't know any of that.
Yeah. To be fair though, those are fans. Fans is short for fanatic, and well, you kind of go crazy at times. So I can understand that with the Jets at least, because
What's parent short for?
see that's different. That's not short for anything. You're just there to watch the game, and
Right. So I think this is what parents should realize. I was talking to a dad this week who was a field hockey dad, and we had very similar views on life. And I'm like, why can't you just go to the game and be happy that your kid is part of a team, learning how to be, you know, a team player, a member of an organization, and when they get their opportunity, they play to the best of their ability and the hardest they can play, and stop worrying about things that you have no control over, or nor should you, and allow that child to have that experience. Because what you're doing as a parent by putting your opinions on their experience is you're thwarting the growth of the team,
hmm
right? When one kid listens to a parent, it thwarts the growth of the team. Allow the team to come together. I mean, there's so many amazing coaches out there. We're blessed to see them all the time. And it's one of my favorite parts of what we do. You know that. I think the first 3 years we were doing LALJ, I stood in the box and watched Calabria and Bond get after it, or Fennell and Hungerford when he was at Farmingdale, or whoever the coaches were. It's my favorite part of this is watching these amazing coaches coach up these kids.
yeah.
You know what I mean? I used to go to my favorite was one of my favorite games I ever covered was the Comstock Mount Sinai game when Joey Spallina was in high school. He was young.
I think this was probably 2021, I want to say.
It was just like one of those games that it was electric. The fans were electric. The game was awesome. And I stood in the box and I saw one of the best hits I've ever seen in the game of lacrosse. Um,
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, Tyler Kresser, he got that clip.
Absolutely. Did he
Yep.
ever? I mean, we should bring that back and show it for like a throwback Thursday.
Yeah, we got to dig into the archives. We have it. So
It
we
was
we
it
got to
was an
repost
amazing.
that.
But like one of the things, E, and I'm sure you feel the same way, is like our favorite thing is like when the schedules come out, right? You and I are like going through the schedules and we're like, oh, Bayport's playing Garden City again in
Yeah.
girls, or
Please.
Wanto's play if Wanto plays Bayport, I'm like the Wanto Bayport game last year was a good game. Boys on the boys side.
Yeah, they played in the regular season and it was
And
like a
then
one goal game and then that wound up being the LIC. And then
yeah,
that was another really good game.
yeah, and Bayport had an incredible run last year. And
Yeah.
obviously, you've documented the Southside boys run last year, and
hmm
and just everything that's going on in the game, and that's the good of the sport. And I think it's so important because I tend to talk about things that, and I don't mean it in a negative light because I don't like to be negative, but I just want to help. And the only way to help is so people that can't control themselves need to control themselves so that they can help their child.
hmm
You understand that, right? Even though you're not a dad yet, I'm sure when you're a dad, you'll be a controlling. You won't be too like thumbs on them.
No, no, I try to be laid back. I try to just sit back and just kind of let things play out. That's how I am. So I imagine that's how I'd be as a parent. I don't want to be like too involved with things like that.
Yeah, I mean it's funny, but you and I always go through like as kids commit to colleges and we start to evaluate. Like Florida obviously had a great recruiting class off of the island. With Ablage,
Yeah.
Greenberg,
And
right?
Speed, Evan
Speed.
Greenberg. Yup.
We know a kid upstate, the kid Rothfuss from Rochester, and then obviously Vandy had a really good one with Novelli and
Yep.
Atkinson. I
Julian
mean,
Lilienthal.
yep, Lilienthal. I mean, you know them all. But like we love that stuff and to see where these kids are going to go to college. You know, the cool thing is that they have such great opportunities. The opportunities are amazing where these kids can go to college from the sport of lacrosse.
Hmm.
And I would hate to see that opportunity diminished because of something a parent says and is overheard or something. It's not just about the parents. I heard a couple stories about some kids who went to some showcases, and didn't mesh well with the other kids, and it hurt their opportunities.
Yeah.
And that comes back to character. That comes back to teaching your child, humility, teamwork, and just being part of a team is more important than the individual. I get it. I get it. This phone,
Yep.
this is the demise of the team.
Yeah.
You know what I mean by that?
It can be.
It is. It's the demise of a team because you and I know, because we're involved in the social media world and the media world, that people get a little too caught up with the individual stuff and not enough with the team stuff.
Hmm.
I'll tell you one thing, winning a national championship in college or a state championship in high school is much more memorable than being named all county or all American.
Well, yeah, because that's something that creates a bond and something that you'll be able to remember with your entire team for the rest of your life. Like you'll never forget that. Like that's something that every single individual on the team can share.
Yep. Yep. And I've said this before, probably on these podcasts, but if I haven't, I'll reiterate it. When my son was lucky enough to be part of the Cold Spring Harbor team boys to win their first state championship in '06, there were two kids on that team that without those two boys, they don't win the state championship. Neither of them played collegiately. They had plenty of kids who did play collegiately, but
Hmm.
these two young men did not. And they were so instrumental in the success of this team. Okay. But their parents didn't drive to Maryland for club and all that other BS. Okay. These kids went on and did other things. But without those two young men, Cold Spring Harbor doesn't win their first state championship. And every team in every sport has those boys and girls.
Hmm.
They do.
Yep.
And that's wonderful. And I think that's missed in this whole thing because everybody's so they're so caught up in the individual thing instead of the team thing. I mean, we saw last year. I mean, look at what happened at Sayville when Coach Jensen took over there.
Yeah. What a transformation and just what a turnaround for the program. I mean, I know they had been close the last few years, but immediately Coach Jensen takes over, and in year one, you see the benefits, and they go undefeated and win their first state championship.
It was amazing. It was you saw it firsthand. You saw them beat not just Long Island teams and Bayport, which is a big rival for them, but even then go win their next game, right? And then go upstate and have to beat the teams upstate, which are very talented.
Yep.
That says a lot. It says a lot about how important a team is. And they had great individuals. We know. I mean, obviously Sophie Baffardi, right, who's going to UNC, was a big part
Hmm.
of that. But
Yep.
so was Livingston, and so was McNamara, and so
Yep.
was all these
McNamara's,
amazing
Lilienthal,
kids,
D.
Lilienthal,
Simone,
right?
Thornton. Yeah.
Like a lot of talent. But at the end of the day, it was really about the team.
Yep.
Same thing with Southside boys.
Yep.
I mean, what's a better story than that?
Oh my goodness. I've said it, and I know when I talked to Coach DiPietro, he said a lot of people were saying it like That's something that you got to make into like a 30 for 30 or something like that. Like that was a script that you couldn't even make something like that up in the movies. Like just
That is a
unbelievable.
movie, Al. It is a movie.
It is. Like you couldn't script that. Like people would say like, "Oh, get that out of here." Like there's no
That would
way.
never happen, right?
There's no way.
It's a wonderful story, and for those of you out there that don't know it, Coach DiPietro, along with Coach Aiello from Cary, raised. They both live in the Southside District, or raised their kids in the district, and their two boys were part of that 24 class that went on this magical run. And in the championship game against storied Victor, was down. I mean, the week before they were down 5 to Yorktown and came back, right?
Yeah, they were down five in the state semis, and then again down five in the state championship.
Right. And then what? Aiello tied it, and then DiPietro won it. So they're two sons of these two men who basically raised these kids in on the lacrosse field since PAL, since like kindergarten, right? These two men had their two sons part of this with this amazing group of kids. I mean, they were the team was ridiculous. The Southside group was, I mean, they're gonna be good again this year, but their senior class, because of Coach DiPietro and Coach Aiello, developed this group of 24s, graduate class that were just beyond. And it was unbelievable. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's exactly what it is. It's a movie.
Yeah, like that's we'll be seeing like 10 years from now. There's going to be a reunion about
Yeah,
that team.
yeah, yeah. And the funny thing is, it was 20 years from their last state championship
Yes, it was. Yup. Oh 04.
because my best buddy's two boys were on that team, and that was a magical team. My kid was a freshman in high school, I think. Oh 04. Yeah. And I got to watch those kids play. Bobby Hayes was a big part of that team, played at UMass. Their goalie, Orlando, he was tremendous. The Serling boys, they had a bunch of great kids on that team. But 20 years, and a lot of those alums were there that got to watch that, dude.
I mean, it's just a storybook ending.
I mean, I'm not a director or a producer or a writer of scripts, but I think I would kind of do a oh 04 2024 somehow
Yeah, you gotta like
through the eyes.
you gotta incorporate the two. You gotta time together.
I'm sure there's got to be a Southside guy out there that's a producer, director, writer. No, I got to ask my boy Serling if he knows anybody. I do. I know a few people, but I don't know if they'd want. It would be cool. That'd be so cool. But that's what I'm talking about. Like we're talking about a memory for these kids that will be with them till they leave the earth.
1,000%.
What's better than that? It's a team memory, not an individual memory.
Yep.
And that's what we have to fix. We have to fix it. It's got to be a team. And we're all one team. You know that. You and I
Hmm.
mean, every kid from Long Island's on our team.
Of course. That's what we're about. We're about repping the island.
Yeah. And every kid is part of our team. I mean, when they kill it, and I ran into Tess Calabria, who's, finishing the fall at North Carolina. I saw her at a clinic a couple weeks ago. And I said, how's it going? Are you enjoying it? She looked great. And she goes, yeah, I love it. I go, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
Right? She's happy. I saw Brooke Long last week, right? We were at another clinic.
Yeah.
It was at Penn State.
Yep.
I mean, that's what it's about. It's not about individual shit. It's about relationships, right? And team shit.
Yeah.
I think it's so important. I know we don't have too much more time to talk about this, but I think it's just important that we make people realize how important it is. I'm really excited. We're a little under a month away. We're about 5.5 weeks away from the Winter League.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we're gonna have to jump back on not too long before the league starts just to kind of preview, go through the teams that we have in the league because it's back, baby. It's back.
We're back and better than ever. We got 54 teams, dude.
Yeah.
So we got a lot of great lacrosse players that we're going to get to talk about, for that 6 to 8 week window.
Yeah, I'm trying to talk to some people at Stony Brook Indoor to make a little room for me somewhere in the facility so I can sleep over there at night.
Have you seen those Murphy beds that come out of the wall? Have you seen those?
Yes, I've seen those.
They don't take up a lot of room. You put one right as you walk in that wall, and then we can make it like maybe we'll pay for it and brand it. And then when it comes down, you won't see the branding, but you'll be sleeping, so no one else will be there.
Yeah.
It's true, man. It's true. We're going back to back Saturday, Sunday every weekend for 5 weekends. And then we have a couple of midweek games for the playoffs.
Yep.
And then we got College Bound and Winter Premiere that were there for four
Yeah,
days.
that too. Yep.
Dude, what are you gonna do? Hibernate during Christmas break?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna be spending my Christmas out there.
No, no. Christmas, you got to do something. You got to hibernate like a bear. You know, bears hibernate. I think it's really cool though. But that we love that event and stuff like that. And we'll talk about all the kind of stuff that we're going to be doing and how we're going to be able to promote the kids and stuff like that. And it's funny. I got this call. You'll crack up about this. I was talking to somebody the other day, and he's like, "Yeah, my daughter. She just can't stop talking about this guy Ellis." And I'm like,
Oh my
and I'm
goodness.
like, "That's funny." I go, "That's too much, dude.
Oh,
We
thank
got to
you.
get your Where's Waldo. Are you going to a Halloween party with that? Where's Waldo? Because that was great, dude.
Oh, the Where's Waldo costume that I had at FLG training.
Where did you get that? Did you buy it online?
Yeah, I got it off of Amazon.
That
E-
was awesome. Cool.
everyone knows Where's Waldo. So I thought it was good.
It's very appropriate because we always say, "Where's Ellis going today?"
That's what I said. I said to myself, well, I feel like people always ask, where's Ellis? So why not go as where's Waldo?
It was genius. It was genius. Well, I want to thank you for coming on today and making me happy because you always do.
Oh, thank you. The feeling is mutual.
Well, we're lucky. We're lucky what we get to do, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I feel blessed every day. Every day. Tomorrow's a big day. Halloween's a very big day for Coach Wink. I have to tell you, it's one of my favorite holidays because I get to see all of my grandchildren. So I'm
Yeah,
very
I
excited.
was gonna say, do you go like trick or treating with the grandkids, or do they come to you? You know that
Yeah,
they're
we have
gonna
a
give
we
you
have a
the
little
candy. Like what do you
since
do?
since my children were young, we always did a bunch of my kids and then their buddies. And then afterwards, after they were done trick or treating, we have like a pizza party. So we kept it
Nice.
going with the grandkids. So I'll have my 8 grandkids plus my sister's got small kids, so they're like my grandkids. So I'm gonna have like 10, 6 and under. We'll order in a few pizzas. The missus is making pasta and meatballs.
Oh, nice.
So I was thinking I should get a costume to wear since they're all gonna be walking around, but I got to come up with a costume. It's not so hard to walk a neighborhood for a guy my age. Because the unicorn costume that G and Bone was wearing the other night, that's not easy to
Oh,
walk around in.
that was great. That is no, that's not easy to walk around in, let alone actually play goalie in. That
Dude,
was that
Carly
was
G and
great.
Bone, we'll be talking about Longwood. I think you're setting up a call with Coach Grossman, right?
Yes, yes. I'm speaking with Coach Grossman. We're going to talk about the Longwood program and the great things that he's doing over there. That program is definitely on the rise, making the
Yes.
playoffs the last 3 years and winning a
Yes.
playoff game this past season.
It's time. It's time, baby. What's Longwood's logo? I know it's like a lion,
Uh,
right? It's a
yeah,
lion?
yeah, they're the Lions.
Yeah, the different colored lions, right? Like green and yellow
Yeah,
lions.
yeah, green
Have
mostly.
you ever
Yep.
seen a green lion?
I've not.
I'm just wondering how that all works. But I'm excited to hear your interview and stuff. Uh, I'm gonna have to jump because I'm having septic problems and
Oh,
citywide sewers calling me.
oh no. All right, so that's gonna do it for this special edition of the podcast. So Coach Wink and Ellis, we're signing off. Thanks for everyone that tuned in, and we'll talk to you
Uh,
on the other side.